So over the years I've been doing real estate, there have been a ton of changes. First probably being that the contracts used to be on triplicate, which means that there were 3 layers. We'd have to either write them out by hand, which no one did, because if you wrote it out by hand, then no one could read it. Or we would go over to the typewriter and we would line it up, and it took forever to type it all out. The contracts were also like 5 pages long. I think now they're 17. So that was a big difference. And then when we took people out to see properties, we had a book of maps in LA. And I know they have this in other cities too, but it was called the Thomas Guide. And it was literally this thick. And you'd start off on one page, you'd go in the back, you'd look to see where the house was, you'd go to that page, and then you would have to figure out where you were and piece it together. It was a mess. I would do a dry run before I took clients out so that I knew exactly where every house was, so that once I got them in the car with me, that they didn't think that I didn't know where I was going. Because I mostly knew where I was going, but there are a lot of tiny little streets in LA. So that was fun. Oh, and people used to get in the car with us, which they don't do anymore. Now people always prefer to drive themselves. And then don't even get me started about the MLS. So we used to have just kind of a list of houses that were available, and then eventually we got the MLS, but it didn't really have much on it. And now we have all of the stuff, and it really used to be like people did not know about a house unless we told them, and now it's everywhere. And that's one of the reasons why it's so important for agents to have relationships with other agents, because that's how I know what's coming on the market, right? When I hear about something but it's not on the market yet, they're prepping it, they're, doing all of the stuff, all of the staging and all the painting. Oftentimes, I've seen it at that point. So I can call you and say, hey, this house is gonna come on the market. That is actually what happened with someone who became a very good friend of mine. I knew a house was coming on the market. I got a call from her business manager saying, hey, we have this client. They've been looking for this particular house, this exact thing. And I said, oh, I know that house. It's coming on the market. I'm not sure when. So I called the agent that was going to have it. They were having an open house on that Tuesday. I looked at it just to make sure, called the business manager immediately, met her that night, and she bought the house. But that's because I knew my neighborhood and I knew what was coming up. So that kind of stuff is super important. It's always important to know what is not only on the market, but what's coming on the market, because that's the stuff that you can't see online. That's not there. That's industry knowledge. It's just being in the office and listening to people talk every day.